So what else did
Yeah, it's back to Kelly School class of gut level confession. Arthur, I am not perfect. Thank you.
Well, you think that was a turning point in your relationship with her? Or is it sort of...
Well, I don't know if I'd call it a turning point, but we stayed together for quite a while after that, but we just never, we didn't really laugh anymore. You know? Something definitely went out. And then it was exacerbated by lifestyle conflicts and stuff. You know, she'd go off to work every morning, and I'd go to the paper box and pick up the paper. You know. Sometimes I'd take her to work and pick her up. But, you know, despite the fact, she sort of, I don't think she was too happy about it. I mean, when you're working on your little novels and your manuscripts or something, a woman who's going to work every morning doesn't see it as the dedicated little writer thing. She sees it as the ne'er-do-well, the gentleman of leisure. And resentments begin to slowly but surely build, and then it becomes untenable. You know? You definitely do not feel particularly cherished. But, oh, I did my share of crazy things, no doubt about that.
Like what?
Oh, one night I got drunk. She had locked me out of the damn house. So, at first I climbed under the canoe, thought I'd sleep there. As I recall, it was raining. But I'd realized that it wasn't going to be a good little sleeping room arrangement, so I started banging rather forcefully on the door. And then I don't know what door was it. I busted one of the doors, actually. But, so, yeah, that didn't really win over her heart for that evening. And then when I moved out, packed up all my stuff, Morphy gave me a ride to Seattle in his van. And when I said goodbye to Becky, I was pretty broken up. Morphy was very consoling, and I was lucky to be with him, you know. You know, it's your little life. Another little life has come to an end. Eroded and fallen into the sea.
At me. Dana. I followed her feverishly. I knew the difference between treading on thin ice and falling through. Had my brain already gone numb. Dana, I said, I'm sorry. She went out, letting go the door, which swung back at me as if inspired by her state of mind. Dana, I called out, does my place suck in your opinion? Compared to Thomas Walton's, I'd like to know. She glanced at me over her shoulder. What do I know? I'm only an actress. But Dana, you're wonderful, I swear to God. She threw her response over her other shoulder. Thank you. Nice to be so appreciated. Slowly I trudged up the hill, letting the distance between us grow. I was amazed. Dana was walking up the hill out of my reach. She was walking briskly, and then she crossed the street without looking back. She had come to see me. She had walked all the way over, and now she was walking away, shocked and angry. This was an object lesson. You visited that muddle-headed, purple-prosed loon, and you got burned.
So much
like
of it's
a dream.
Oh.
But I mean, I'm sure it's that way for most people.
Yeah.
I mean, especially people who divorce and stuff. I mean, imagine somebody who divorces like several times. I mean, the first, second, third, the other. Well, these marriages must become dreamlike. I mean, did I really do that? Did I live that? So it's almost like, it's almost evanescent. It's almost illusory. That Hakuin monk, Hakuin the monk, Taoist monk or something, that great saying, life is a floating phantasm, it is a momentary smoke. Hakuin, this little monk. It's so great. You know, and he sort of marches with this frightened resolve to the podium and then just merely tries to survive the speech. And then the parents say, "Attaboy, George, you made it." fit for life in the world. But the twig could have found his own level. We didn't need to exterminate the guy or anything, but he needed probably to be a little man in Crawford, perhaps, with a 20-acre hobby farm if he wanted. He'd sit on his porch and cast for carp and reel them up to the porch and put them in a bucket. And Laura can pat him on the shoulder and say, "Attaboy, you're a very good little fisherman, George." But Jesus, to presume himself to be the president is just, that's a crime. That's really criminal. It's treacherous. And all the people who helped make him president,
Oh yeah, founding.
All Americans are so taken, so enthralled by war. They just love the initial flexing of the muscles. I mean, any president, you know, you could put up Goofy or Daffy Duck, and if the bastard started dropping bombs, his approval ratings would go way up in the stratosphere. Society seems is into a huge mire of self-degradation in a way, and television controlling people's minds, and literally plucking their minds out of their heads and remolding them so they'll buy bullshit for bullshit psychological reasons. That's immoral. It's sick. But in the airport, it's the same thing. Sitcom nation. Sort of this escapist laughter and sluggardly people and just blank and giggling and frivolous. There was, I was concentrating. Is there any, just ready. I was just made myself ready for whatever might happen. And all these people are just, it's just a typical sitcom nation scene, and it made me mad.
Well, I don't think spending time at the airport brings out the best in anyone,
Well, yeah, but look at Block Island. Behavior. I think, shit, I can't help but judge people every goddamn second.
Yes, I've noticed.
Yeah. No, but people, it's true. This country is. It's too goddamn sluggardly. It's overweight. It's glued to the TV. It's addicted to bullshit.
Maybe you should run for public office.
Oh, yeah, right. I'd be drummed out of the goddamn country.
Easy for me to say now that I'm throwing out.
He's quite charming. He can be quite charming. Quite warm and wonderful. He's very generous. And he's a very good host.
Yes.
And he's a lot of fun to be with. He does not tolerate bullshit. So he's challenging to be with because you have to kind of stick up for yourself. He doesn't just let you get away with stuff. You have to be able to explain and defend. So there's no slacking off with Minot around. He's kind of the watchdog for good taste and proper behavior.
Because he knows it.
Yeah, but he's fun, so it's okay. Having known Jim for around a year, he brought me out here to Newport, Rhode Island to meet his old and dear friend Minot. And we arrived, and he met us at the airport, which was lovely, and brought us back to his wonderful house, which at the time he was kind of living in one little portion of, because he had just purchased it and it wasn't quite fit for human habitation yet. And we all kind of crashed, and the next morning he said, well, let's go see Newport. So he said, we'll do a little walk. So I put on my relatively new shoes and like a skirt or something, thinking we were going to walk down the street. And we went and walked, and we ended up on the cliff walk. And we walked the entire thing. I wasn't really prepared for that. It was very long, but we were sort of partway along, and there was a nice little pebbly beach, and Minot wanted to go in the water. I'd heard he was quite an accomplished swimmer and liked to swim whenever he could get the chance, and in fact that was why he lived here, and there's a pool over there to prove it. So he kind of flung off his outer garments, and he was in his swim trunks, and he plunged into the water and swam away and never came back. And here Jim and I were, somewhere we had never been before, without our native guide. We're just kind of alone, thinking, well, at some point he'll swim back, but we honestly could not see even like a little head bobbing out there on the horizon or anything. So we thought, okay, we'll just keep walking. So we walked all the way along the cliff walk, and I think we turned around and walked back, kind of discussing like, what we would do if we never saw Minot again. And from the little I knew of him, it seemed like he had moments of despondency. He'd been despondent, and I thought maybe he just waited for us to get here, and he just swam out and would never return. And this was it. This was kind of the big goodbye for Minot, and I was getting kind of scared and nervous.